Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and today we're doing a very special part 2 of the A to Z of Queer Lit. If you missed it, back in January I posted a list very much like this one, except for it had completely different books on it, obviously. The point of the A to Z of Queer Lit is to pick a book that has the letter of the alphabet in either the title or the author's name, and make an entire list like that. So basically this is a very fun way to give a recommendation of 26 queer books all in one video. Like I said, I've already done a list like this back in January, so since then I've read more than 26 queer books because these are just the ones that I could fit in with the letters of the alphabet. I would like to note I've read every single one of these since I made that last list, and not all of them have queer protagonists, but if that's the case then they have significant queer side characters that I really enjoyed, or they were just such an easy, this person exists and there's no strife about it type of character that I was like, yes, you can be on the list too. Hey, important thing to mention, if you don't already know, the Queer Lit Readathon is going on right now and you can totally join in late, so information about that is down in the description. That being said, let's get into it because obviously this is a long list. For A, we have All Out, the No Longer Secret Stories of Kick-Ass Queer Teens, edited by Chandra Mitchell. This is a queer anthology of stories throughout the ages, and although it has a lot of great ethnic diversity into it, I would have liked if it had more diversity in where it was set. Most of the stories were set in North America and Europe, and I would have loved to hit some other continents. That being said though, there is a ton of different types of queer rep in this book, and it's definitely worth picking up. For B, we have The Brightsiders by Jen Wilde. This is a book that I've been so excited about, and I got it early and I read it immediately and I absolutely fell in love with it and adored it. Emmy King is a teenage rock star with a couple of her friends and has to figure out how to get her life together because she is doing some things that are not good. Just not good. She's also bi but hasn't come out to her fans yet, so she's contemplating doing that. And then of course she isn't the only queer character in this book. Many other ones pop up and it's delightful. C is for Don't Cosplay With My Heart by Cecil Castellucci. There's a lot of C's in there. This is one of those books where it's not the protagonist that is queer, but it's her best friend that's queer, and I loved the way this was handled. It was just so easily slipped in there that she had a crush on this girl, and then maybe they were gonna get together, and there was no big strife about it. There was enough strife in the protagonist's life. We did not need any strife in this queer side character. D is Dress Codes for Small Towns by Courtney C. Stevens. This one is so great. There's a group of friends called the Hexagon, and they all basically hang out all together, all 6 of them, and many of them are queer. It seems like almost everybody has a crush on somebody else. I mean, that's what I thought going into it. It's not actually that queer, but it's still pretty queer and I loved it. E is for Will Grayson by David Levithan and John Green, which was the first queer book to be on the New York Times bestsellers list for children's reads, so there's that. This book is about 2 different boys who happen to be named Will Grayson, and they're written under the 2 different authors. So one of the Wills is written by John, one of the Wills is written by David. You can take a guess as to which one of them is queer. As a follow-up to this book, one of the Will Grayson's best friends, Tiny, was writing a musical during this book, and David Levithan actually made it into a script that you can read. It's called Hold Me Closer, the Tiny Cooper story, and it's fabulous. F is for Spellbook of the Lost and Found by Moira Fowley Doyle. As you might guess from the title, this book has a little bit of magic to it, and at least 3 queer characters, 2 best friends who are both bisexual, and then a girl who I believe is a lesbian. It wasn't said one way or the other, but she also definitely likes ladies. This plot starts because some girls' diaries have been stolen and they cast a spell to get them back. But obviously it's magic, so something goes wrong. G is for The Secret Loves of Geeks, edited by Hope Nicholson. This is not a queer collection, but there are queer stories and essays within the collection. This is exactly what it sounds like. Famous people talk about secret things that they loved growing up or that they still love, and some of these things are hella queer. H is for Hero by Perry Moore. This is a gay superhero story. Need I say more? This one does have some trigger warnings for parental abuse, as does this next one. I is for It Looks Like This by Rafi Mittelfeld. This one is about a boy who realizes he's queer and then his parents send him off to a queer conversion camp, which is a turn that actually happens very far into the book and I didn't see coming and I didn't know it was gonna be there, and it definitely made me sad. I've tried to avoid those stories because they make me angry and sad, but I guess everyone should read one once. J is for My Cat Yugoslavia by Padam Stadovci. This one is weird. This one has 2 narrators. We have a mother from Yugoslavia and her son many years later who lives in Finland, is queer, Muslim, and owns a boa constrictor and has a relationship with a talking cat. So, like I said, weird, but if you want something strange and queer, here you go. K is for True Letters from a Fictional Life by Kenneth Logan. This book is about a boy who's in the closet, and occasionally when he's mad at people, he writes letters to them about it, but he like puts them in a drawer, locks them away, and doesn't send them. It's just his way of coping with stress, basically. And much like you might expect from somebody who writes letters but doesn't send them, at some point somebody sends his letters. Obviously, chaos ensues. L is for Leon the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This is the second in the Creekwood series and the third by Becky Albertalli, and I really enjoyed it. I'm aware that some people had problems with this. I'm aware that they didn't think that some aspects were written properly. I'm aware that people thought Leah was an asshole. And okay, yes, she is a very sarcastic human being, but as someone who is sarcastic quite often, I can relate. Maybe this is why I was able to get into her head more easily. I don't think she should just get a pass for all of the kind of shitty things she does occasionally, but she's not the worst. For M, I actually had two books and I couldn't decide which one to highlight more, so I'm just gonna tell you both of them. The first one is This Adventure Ends by Emma Mills. This one has a side lesbian romance and it's just done in such a way where it's not like remarked upon as being this big thing, which is why I wanted it on this list. Also, I just really loved this book. The protagonist's dad gets obsessed with writing fan fiction and it's just great, so there's that. And then the other book I wanted to highlight was The Magic Misfits by Neil Patrick Harris, because this book was adorable, it's middle grade, and one of the characters has two dads. And again, this is just not remarked upon as being like a weird thing or strange or different. It's just like, that's the way it is. Two dads. Perfect. For N, we have Sugartown by Hazel Newlevant. This is a very tiny graphic novel, maybe 30 pages, about a bisexual polyamorous girl who is on vacation and talking long distance with her boyfriend, and then also dating a dominatrix. A lot of representation in a very short amount of pages. O is for One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This is about a group of students who go into detention. 5 go in, 4 come out. One of them has been murdered. In this book, you actually see the perspectives of the 4 remaining people, and you're trying to figure out which one of them did it. And one of those 4 people is in the closet, which ties into his potential motive for doing it. There are so many potential motives, and that's not the only potential motive that character would have had, otherwise I would have had cliched feelings about it. And that's not the only representation we see from that character, so it builds on that, so I'm fine with it. P is for Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston, and this was a delightful surprise. When I read the first 2 chapters of this book, it was a girl perspective and a boy perspective, and I immediately thought this was going to be like Geekerella but in space. But that girl and that boy do not fall in love with each other, they fall in love with other people, and it's queer, and I'm here for it, and it was so good, and I want more from this series. Q is for American Queen by Sierra Simone, and this is a very adult book. This is full of the smutty smut. This centers around a woman who is dating the President of the United States, but they are also both kind of dating the Vice President of the United States. From my understanding, the second book you get more of the male-male aspect of this romance, but I don't want to read the second book because there's also aspects of it that I'm not going to enjoy, and I don't want to inflict that upon myself. But this book does go into the background of these 2 male characters and how they met and how they fell in love and how everybody fell in love, and it's a polyamorous love fest, which is great. But also, again, super adult, super dirty. If that's not your thing, don't read this. R is for Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This is about necromancers, which I would have just read it because it was about necromancers, but then also the main character is bisexual, so there's that. Basically, the same king has been ruling this area for 200 years because necromancers just keep bringing him back, and then something goes horribly awry, as it would do. And there's a huge adventure element to this story. S is for Ship It by Britta London. Claire writes fan fiction for this show she really loves, in which she wishes that the 2 main characters, both male, were in love. There's a huge headcanon about this. Forrest, on the other hand, is the actor that plays one of those 2 main characters, and when they butt heads at a Comic-Con, PR nightmare ensues, and basically she comes along on the rest of the tour where he's trying to be like, no, we can't make this character queer because I want to do this other project and I can't be even perceived to be queer, and she's like, but the characters are clearly in love with each other. You guys know that I love a fandom read, so I really liked seeing this from a fan and actor perspective. T is for Tosh Hearts Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. This is about a girl named Tosh who is making a web series of Anna Karenina with her friends. She's obsessed with Tolstoy and she's asexual, so when she gets a crush on this fellow YouTuber and is going to meet up with him, she has to figure out how to divulge this information because she definitely has the romantic feels but does not have the sexual feels. U is for The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I absolutely adored this book. This is a book about a girl named Monique who gets this assignment to go and write what she thinks is an article about this old starlet named Evelyn Hugo. When she gets there, Evelyn says, "No, actually, we're going to co-write my biography. Right now, let's do it." Evelyn Hugo is known for having 7 husbands, so Monique starts with, "Who is the love of your life?" and it was not one of those husbands. I laughed, I cried. The mystery as to why Monique was the person that had to write her life story kept me going. And if you only pick up one badass bisexual book, please make sure it's this one. V is for The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This is historical fiction where Monty is about to go off on his European adventure before he settles down and runs the family estate, but he's bringing with him his best friend and also crush Percy, and then his little sister has to tag along as far as Paris or whatever. Monty is brash and loud, and his vices definitely cause some issues, and they end up on the run. And this ended up just being a really fun adventure, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. For W, we have Draw the Line by Laurent Lynn. This is about a boy who draws comics and puts them on the internet anonymously. And although his friends know he's queer, he's not really out because the only really out person at his school is constantly picked on and he doesn't want to be that guy. Unfortunately, he witnesses a hate crime towards that guy, and then he decides to use his art to speak up about it. For X, I decided that X marks a free spot because I could not find another book with an X in it, and for this one I chose My Brother's Husband by Takami Gengoro. This is a manga about a man whose twin has died and his twin's husband comes to visit him in Japan. At the time of his twin's death, he hadn't seen his twin in about a decade and definitely had never met his husband before. And this is largely to do with the protagonist working through the homophobia he's learned through his culture and realizing that Mike is actually a freaking great guy and wishing that he got to know his brother better. Y is for I Hate Everyone But You by Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin. In case I didn't make it clear earlier in the video, because I honestly can't remember all the words that I've said in the past however long I've been filming, not every book on this list is a 5-star read for me, and this definitely wasn't one of those. However, I feel it gets a lot more flack than it really should. Yes, it reads kind of like fan fiction of Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin's lives, but you're told to write what you know, and they did. This follows 2 best friends who have just graduated from high school and are going to 2 different colleges, and they're writing back and forth in an email and text format. One of them realizes she's queer and goes on many queer adventures, and the other one doesn't really know how to handle queer culture. And if she'd never been called out on this, then this would have a much lower rating, but she does get called out about it. And Z is for The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza by Sean David Hutchinson, which was just such a brilliant audiobook. This is a book about a girl named Elena Mendoza who is the product of a virgin birth and eventually starts an apocalypse. She didn't mean to do it, it just happened. And honestly, that's kind of all I want to say about it, because if you haven't already heard about it, I would love for you to go into it not knowing anything. There are just so many aspects to the plot that I find if you don't know them going into it, it makes them so much better. I will tell you though that the writing in parts is very funny, and I need to pick up more of Sean David Hutchinson's books because this is the only one I've read, and I think I will get on with his other works. And there you have it, my second rendition of the A to Z of Queer Lit. Have you read any of these? Let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down in the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You could like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!